Katie Morrison woke up early that Tuesday morning on New Haven Colony. The 15-year-old girl always got excited when alien visitors came to their small human settlement. Today was special because 3 different alien species were arriving for an inspection visit. Katie had been studying their languages for months, hoping to help translate during their stay. She brushed her brown hair and put on her best blue dress. Her mother, Dr. Lisa Morrison, smiled at her daughter's enthusiasm. Over breakfast, Lisa worked as the colony's main doctor and treated both humans and the few aliens who lived with them peacefully. "Remember to be respectful, Katie," her mother said while making scrambled eggs. "These visitors are very important to the Galactic Council. We want to make a good impression." Katie nodded eagerly. She had read everything she could find about the 3 species coming today. The Sectar were tall reptile-like beings with green scales and sharp teeth. They were known for being very smart and controlling much of galactic trade. The Vexani looked like giant insects with 4 arms and compound eyes. They lived in huge hive cities and shared thoughts with each other. The Ethereals were the strangest of all, beings made of pure energy who could float through the air and speak directly into people's minds. Her father, Commander Jake Morrison, led the small defense force that protected New Haven. He was a kind man but took his job seriously. Over breakfast, he reminded Katie about the rules for meeting aliens. "Stay calm, speak clearly, and always show respect," Jake said. "Remember, we humans are still new to the galaxy. These species have been traveling between stars for thousands of years while we were still learning to fly." Katie finished her breakfast quickly and ran to the colony's main building. New Haven was small compared to cities on Earth with only 5,000 human residents. The buildings were simple but sturdy, designed to handle the planet's harsh weather. Most colonists worked as farmers, miners, or researchers, studying the local plants and animals. The alien ship landed just after noon. Katie watched from the landing pad as the large silver vessel settled onto the ground with a soft humming sound. She had seen pictures of alien ships before, but this was her first time seeing one in person. The ship was beautiful, with curved lines and no visible engines or weapons. 3 figures stepped out of the ship's main door. The Sectar came first. He was over 7 feet tall, with dark green scales covering his body. His yellow eyes looked around the landing area carefully. Katie knew from her studies that this was probably the team leader. Behind him came the Vexani. The insect-like alien moved on 6 legs, with her upper 4 arms carrying various devices. Her compound eyes seemed to look in all directions at once. Katie found her fascinating rather than frightening. The ethereal appeared last, floating a few inches above the ground. It looked like a person-shaped cloud of blue and white light. When it spoke, Katie heard the words directly in her mind, rather than through her ears. "Greetings, humans of New Haven Colony," the ethereal said. "We come in peace to observe and learn." Commander Morrison stepped forward to welcome the visitors officially. He wore his best uniform and spoke in formal diplomatic language. Katie waited patiently behind the group of human officials, bouncing slightly on her feet with excitement. After the formal introductions, the aliens began their inspection of the colony. They visited the farms, the mining operations, the school, and the medical center. Katie followed at a respectful distance, listening to their conversations and taking notes in her journal. The Sectar leader, who introduced himself as Vorthak, seemed most interested in the colony's defenses and population growth. He asked many questions about how many humans lived on New Haven and how fast the settlement was expanding. His questions seemed normal to Katie, who thought he was just being thorough. The Vexani inspector focused on the colony's technology and industry. She examined the farming equipment, the mining tools, and the communication systems. Katie noticed that she paid special attention to anything that seemed more advanced than expected. The ethereal spent most of its time at the school and medical center. It seemed curious about human education and healthcare. When it spoke to Katie, directly asking about her studies, she felt honored to be noticed. "You learn our languages very well for one so young," the ethereal said, its voice gentle in her mind. "Most humans struggle with nonverbal communication." Katie blushed with pride. "I think all languages are beautiful," she replied. "I want to become a diplomat someday and help different species understand each other." As the day continued, Katie began to feel like she was making real connections with the visitors. She helped translate when other colonists had trouble understanding the aliens' questions. She shared stories about human customs and explained why certain things were important to her people. During the afternoon, Katie's parents invited the inspection team to dinner at their home. The aliens accepted politely, though they explained they could not eat human food. Katie spent hours preparing questions to ask them about their home worlds and cultures. The dinner was wonderful from Katie's perspective. She listened with fascination as the aliens described their societies. The Sectar told stories of their ancient cities built on floating platforms above poisonous swamps. The Vexani explained how her people could share thoughts and emotions across vast distances. The Ethereal described worlds where beings of pure energy danced between the stars. Katie shared human stories in return. She told them about Earth's blue oceans and green forests. She described human art, music, and literature. She explained how humans dreamed of exploring the galaxy and making friends with other intelligent species. As the evening ended, Katie felt hopeful about humanity's future in the galaxy. The alien visitors seemed impressed by New Haven's peaceful atmosphere and the colonists' genuine desire for friendship. Katie went to bed that night, dreaming of a future where humans and aliens worked together to explore the universe. She had no way of knowing that her innocent curiosity and desire for friendship would soon lead to tragedy that would change the entire galaxy forever. The next morning, Katie Morrison did not come home for breakfast. Her mother, Dr. Lisa Morrison, waited at the kitchen table as the scrambled eggs grew cold. This was not like Katie at all. The girl was always hungry in the morning and never missed a meal without telling her parents first. Commander Jake Morrison finished his coffee and checked his watch. Katie should have been home an hour ago. He called the colony security office and asked them to look for his daughter. The officers said they would check her usual places right away. Lisa felt worried, sick in her stomach. She walked to Katie's bedroom and saw that her daughter's bed had not been slept in. The blue dress from yesterday was still on the floor where Katie had dropped it. Her school book sat untouched on the desk. Jake received the first report an hour later. The security team had checked the school, the library, the park, and all of Katie's friends' homes. Nobody had seen her since dinner the night before. The HFY alien inspection team had left New Haven very early that morning, before most colonists were awake. The search expanded quickly. Every adult in the colony joined the effort to find Katie. They looked in storage buildings, farming areas, mining, tunnels, and the forest around the settlement. Jake organized search teams and sent them to cover every inch of New Haven colony. Lisa could not sit still and wait. She joined one of the search teams and walked through the woods calling Katie's name. Her voice cracked with fear as she shouted for her daughter. Other parents in the search party tried to comfort her, but Lisa's heart was breaking with worry. On the second day of searching, Jake expanded the search area beyond the colony borders. New Haven sat on a large continent with thick forests, rocky hills, and a few small rivers. Katie could have gotten lost while exploring, though she had always been careful about staying close to home. The colonists searched for 3 full days without finding any trace of Katie. Jake barely slept, spending every moment organizing search parties and checking reports. Lisa cried herself to sleep each night, praying that her daughter was safe somewhere. On the 4th morning, a mining worker named Pete Johnson found Katie's body in a shallow cave 5 miles from the colony. Pete had been checking old mining sites when he saw something blue inside the cave entrance. When he looked closer, he found Katie lying on the ground, still wearing her best dress. Pete called Jake immediately on his radio. His voice shook as he gave the location. Jake and Lisa raced to the cave with Dr. Martinez, the colony's other doctor. What they found there broke their hearts completely. Katie lay peacefully on the cave floor as if she had simply gone to sleep. There were no signs of violence on her body. No cuts, no bruises, no torn clothing. She looked exactly as she had at dinner 4 nights ago, except that her skin was pale and cold. Lisa knelt beside her daughter's body and held Katie's hand. The young girl's face was calm and peaceful. Lisa checked for any signs of what might have caused Katie's death, but found nothing obvious. As a doctor, Lisa knew this was very strange. Jake carried Katie's body back to the colony medical center. The whole settlement gathered to mourn the loss of their bright young girl. Many people cried openly as Jake walked through the streets, holding his daughter. Lisa performed the medical examination herself, even though it was the hardest thing she had ever done. She needed to know what had happened to Katie. As she worked, Lisa discovered something that made her blood run cold. Katie's brain showed clear signs of artificial damage. The neural pathways were disrupted in a pattern that Lisa had only seen in medical textbooks. This was not a natural death from illness or accident. Someone had used an advanced device to damage Katie's brain. Lisa called Jake into the examination room and showed him the evidence. The brain scans revealed that Katie had been killed by some kind of energy weapon designed to disrupt nervous systems. The damage was precise and complete. Katie would have died instantly without pain. Jake stared at the scan results with growing anger. Someone had murdered his innocent daughter. The only outsiders on New Haven during the past week had been the alien inspection team. Jake immediately ordered his security team to review all surveillance footage from the colony. The security recordings showed Katie leaving her family's house on the evening she disappeared. The cameras followed her path to the edge of the colony, where she had gone to meet someone. The final camera showed Katie walking toward 3 figures in the darkness outside the settlement. Jake enhanced the video image and saw the truth that made his heart fill with rage. The 3 figures were Vorthak the Sectar, the Vexani Inspector, and the Ethereal. Katie had gone to meet the alien visitors, probably hoping to continue their friendly conversations from dinner. The last clear image showed Katie approaching, the aliens with a smile on her face. She was carrying a small bag, probably containing gifts or food to share with them. The recording showed her speaking to the aliens for several minutes in what appeared to be normal conversation. Then the video captured the moment that changed everything. Vorthak pulled out a small device and pointed it at Katie. There was a brief flash of light and Katie collapsed to the ground immediately. The aliens checked her body, confirmed she was dead, and then simply walked away. Jake watched the recording 5 times to make sure he understood what he was seeing. The alien inspection team had murdered his daughter in cold blood. They had killed an innocent girl who only wanted to be their friend. Jake immediately sent emergency messages to Earth and all human colonies, reporting Katie's murder and sending copies of the video evidence. He demanded that the Galactic Council arrest Vorthak and his team for the killing of a human child. The response from the council came back within hours. They claimed the video was unclear and could not prove the aliens had caused Katie's death. They suggested that Katie had died from natural causes and that the timing was just a coincidence. Jake could not believe what he was reading. The council was protecting the murderers of his daughter. They were calling the clear video evidence fake or meaningless. They were telling him that his child's life did not matter to them. The final message from the council made Jake's anger turn into pure rage. They officially classified Katie's death as natural causes due to human biological weakness. They said humans were too fragile for space colonization and should stay on Earth where they belonged. Jake Morrison looked at his dead daughter's peaceful face and made a promise. The aliens who killed Katie would pay for their crime. The council that protected them would learn what human weakness really meant. The news of Katie Morrison's murder reached Earth in less than 6 hours. President Susan Clark was eating lunch in the White House when her assistant brought her the emergency message from New Haven Colony. She read the report twice, her face growing darker with each word. Clark immediately called an emergency meeting of the World Defense Council. Within 2 hours, the most powerful leaders on Earth gathered in the secret war room beneath Washington. Admiral Henry Blake, the head of Earth's combined military forces, arrived first. General Patricia Wong came next, followed by Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's chief scientist. The meeting room was silent as President Clark played the video recording from New Haven. Everyone watched as 15-year-old Katie Morrison walked happily toward the alien visitors carrying gifts and smiling. They saw her collapse when Vorthak used the neural disruptor. They watched the aliens check her body and walk away without caring. Admiral Blake's hands formed fists on the table. General Wong's jaw was tight with anger. Dr. Vasquez closed her eyes and shook her head sadly. These were military leaders who had seen war and violence, but watching an innocent child get murdered made them all feel sick. President Clark read the Galactic Council's response out loud. The room erupted in angry voices when she reached the part about humans being too weak for space travel. Several generals stood up and started shouting about the insult to humanity. "They killed our child and called us weak," Admiral Blake said, his voice deadly quiet. "They think we are helpless because we try to make peace instead of war." Ambassador Carl Stone had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years. He was a patient man who believed in solving problems through talking and negotiation. Clark ordered him to make one more attempt at getting justice, through proper diplomatic channels. Stone traveled to the Council headquarters on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. He requested an emergency meeting with the Council leadership to discuss Katie Morrison's murder. The Council agreed to see him, but only to deliver more insults to humanity. The Council chamber was huge, with representatives from 47 different alien species. Stone stood alone at the center, surrounded by beings who looked down on humans as primitive newcomers. He presented the video evidence of Katie's murder and demanded justice for the crime. The Council's response was worse than anyone on Earth had expected. They not only refused to punish Vorthak and his team, but they banned all human representatives from Council meetings for 1 full year. They said humans were too emotional and unstable to participate in galactic civilization. When Stone protested, the Council guards escorted him out of the chamber. Several alien representatives laughed as he was forced to leave. The message was clear. Human lives did not matter to the galaxy's ruling powers. The news of Stone's humiliation reached Earth. Within hours, President Clark called another emergency meeting, but this time she invited different people. Along with the usual military leaders, she brought in Colonel Ryan Murphy, who ran a secret project that most humans did not know existed. Colonel Murphy had been waiting for this day for 50 years. He opened his briefcase and pulled out classified files that revealed humanity's greatest secret. While Earth's public leaders had been promoting peace and friendship with aliens, Murphy and his team had been preparing for war. Project Prometheus has been active since first contact, Murphy explained to the shocked room. "We knew this day might come. We knew the galaxy might not accept us peacefully." Dr. Vasquez stared at the files with amazement. The papers described technologies that were far beyond anything the public knew about. Humans had been secretly developing weapons and ships that could match or exceed anything the alien species possessed. Admiral Blake looked through reports of hidden military bases throughout the solar system. Entire fleets of advanced warships sat waiting in secret locations around Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. Thousands of soldiers had been training with weapons that used principles the Galactic Council thought humans could not understand. The most shocking revelation came when Murphy showed them the intelligence reports. For decades, human spies had been gathering information about every major alien species. Earth knew the locations of their home worlds, their military strengths, their technological weaknesses, and their political secrets. "We have been playing the role of innocent newcomers," Murphy said calmly. "Every diplomatic mission was also a spy mission. Every trade agreement included intelligence gathering. Every cultural exchange gave us access to their computer systems." President Clark realized that humanity had never been the weak species the aliens believed them to be. Earth's leaders had chosen to appear helpless while secretly building the power to defend themselves. The galaxy had been completely fooled by humanity's peaceful act. General Wong asked the question everyone was thinking: how powerful are we really compared to the Council species? Murphy smiled for the first time during the meeting. He opened another file that contained military assessments of every major alien civilization. The numbers were shocking. Earth's secret military was not just equal to the Council forces. Humanity was stronger than all of them combined. The Sectar have advanced energy weapons, but their ships are slow and their tactics are predictable, Murphy explained. The Vexani have superior numbers, but they depend too much on their shared consciousness. Disrupt their mental connection and they become helpless. The ethereals seem powerful, but they are actually very fragile to the right kind of electromagnetic attack. Dr. Vasquez looked at the scientific reports with growing excitement. Human researchers had solved problems that alien scientists considered impossible. Earth had developed faster-than-light travel that was more efficient than Council technology. Human weapons could phase through matter and strike directly at living nervous systems. The room fell silent as everyone understood what Murphy was revealing. Humanity was not the weak newcomer species begging for acceptance. Earth was a sleeping giant that had been pretending to be harmless while building the power to dominate the entire galaxy. President Clark made the decision that would change everything. She looked around the room at the military leaders who had spent their lives protecting humanity. She thought about Katie Morrison, the innocent girl who had died because aliens thought humans were too weak to matter. "They killed our child," Clark said quietly. "They called us weak and fragile. They laughed when we asked for justice." She stood up and faced the assembled leaders. "Let's show them what human weakness really looks like." Admiral Blake smiled grimly and reached for his communication device. It was time to wake up the sleeping giant. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had always been letting others underestimate them. The age of human patience was over. The age of human power was about to begin. The human response began with complete silence. Every human colony, space station, and trading post across the galaxy suddenly stopped all communication with alien species. Human merchants disappeared from alien markets. Human diplomats vanished from their offices. Human students left alien universities without explanation. The Galactic Council first thought this was just another emotional human reaction that would pass in a few days. They had seen humans get upset before and expected them to come crawling back asking for forgiveness. Council members joked that the weak humans were probably crying at home like children. Admiral Henry Blake commanded the secret human fleet from his flagship, the UES Retribution. The massive ship had been hidden in the asteroid belt for 20 years, waiting for this moment. Its hull was made from materials that did not appear on any Council science database. Its weapons used principles that alien physicists thought were impossible. Blake looked at the tactical display showing human forces throughout the galaxy. Over 500 advanced warships were moving into position around alien homeworlds. Thousands of smaller vessels carried special operations teams trained for missions the Council could not imagine. The first target was Sector Prime, the reptilian homeworld where Vorthak had been born. The planet was a massive fortress world, with orbital defense platforms and millions of soldiers. The Sector military leaders felt completely safe behind their powerful shields and energy weapons. Captain Julie Adams commanded the assault on Sector Prime from her stealth ship, the UES Shadow. Her vessel approached the planet completely invisible to Sector sensors. The alien defenders had no idea that death was coming for their world. The attack did not begin with explosions or laser beams. Instead, human ships released tiny devices that spread across the planet like invisible dust. These nanobots were programmed to destroy specific types of technology while leaving living beings completely unharmed. Within hours, every power plant on Sector Prime stopped working. The planetary defense grid went dark. Communication networks failed across all 7 continents. Transportation systems shut down, leaving millions of Sector stranded wherever they happened to be when the attack began. The Sector military tried to fight back, but their weapons would not fire. Their ships could not start their engines. Their computers displayed error messages in languages they could not read. In less than 6 hours, the most powerful military force in the galaxy was reduced to using stone tools and signal fires. Colonel Ryan Murphy led the special mission to capture Vorthak personally. Murphy's team used advanced teleportation technology to appear directly inside the Sector government building. They moved through the corridors like ghosts, their armor making them invisible to both eyes and sensors. Vorthak was found hiding in his private chambers, trying desperately to contact other Council worlds for help. Murphy materialized in front of the terrified alien, holding a weapon that looked like pure crystallized light. The device could phase matter, allowing it to reach through any armor or shield. "You killed Katie Morrison," Murphy said calmly. "A 15-year-old girl who only wanted to be your friend." Vorthak tried to explain that Katie's death was necessary for galactic security. He said humans were dangerous and needed to be controlled. Murphy listened to the alien's excuses without showing any emotion on his face. Instead of killing Vorthak, Murphy did something much worse. He used a device that would erase Vorthak from history itself. Every record of the Sectar's existence would be deleted. His family line would be terminated. Even his own people would forget he had ever been born. The Vexani homeworld faced a different kind of attack. The insect-like aliens lived in massive hive cities where millions of individuals shared a collective consciousness. They thought, as one mind spread across billions of bodies, making them very difficult to defeat in traditional warfare. Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent years studying Vexani biology and psychology. She developed a biological weapon specifically designed for their unique nervous systems. The weapon did not kill the Vexani, but it did something much more cruel. Human ships released the bioweapon into the atmosphere of every Vexani world. The substance spread through their hive cities like an invisible fog. When the Vexani breathed it in, their collective consciousness was destroyed forever. Suddenly, billions of Vexani found themselves alone in their own minds for the first time in their species' history. They could no longer share thoughts or emotions with their hive mates. Each individual was trapped in complete mental isolation, driven to madness by the terrible loneliness. The ethereals presented the greatest challenge because they were beings of pure energy rather than physical matter. They lived in the spaces between dimensions and thought they were safe from any physical attack. They had always considered themselves superior to species that needed solid bodies. Human scientists had discovered something the ethereals did not know about themselves. Despite being energy beings, they were still bound by quantum physics. Dr. Vasquez's team had learned to create quantum cages that could trap energy patterns and prevent them from moving through dimensions. The attack on the ethereal realm required technology that seemed like magic even to other humans. Special ships equipped with quantum generators created invisible prison cells throughout ethereal space. Every ethereal being was suddenly trapped in their own personal cage, conscious but unable to interact with the universe. Within 1 week, the 3 species that had killed Katie Morrison and insulted humanity were completely destroyed. Not through violence or explosions, but through precise application of technologies that turned their own strengths against them. The Sectar were reduced to primitive survival on their own worlds. All their advanced technology turned to useless metal. The Vexani were driven insane by isolation, their collective consciousness shattered forever. The ethereals were imprisoned in quantum cages, aware but powerless for all eternity. But Admiral Blake was not finished. The human fleet turned its attention to the other council species that had supported the decision to humiliate humanity. 44 alien civilizations suddenly found human warships appearing in their home systems without warning. General Patricia Wong delivered the same message to each species. You watched them kill our child. You said nothing when they called us weak. You laughed when we asked for justice. This is the price of your silence. Some alien species tried to surrender immediately, offering tributes and apologies. Others attempted to fight, launching their fleets against the human forces. The results were the same in every case. Human technology was so far advanced that alien weapons could not even damage human ships. Planet after planet fell under human control. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years found themselves begging for mercy from the humans they had dismissed as primitive weaklings. The Galactic Council that had existed for 10,000 years ceased to exist in just 2 weeks. Admiral Blake stood on the bridge of the Retribution and watched the tactical display show human control spreading across the galaxy. Every red dot representing an enemy world was turning blue as alien species submitted to human authority. In the quiet of his command center, Blake thought about Katie Morrison and her innocent dream of becoming a diplomat. The girl who had wanted to build bridges between species had instead become the reason for humanity's conquest of the stars. The galaxy had learned too late that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their military power. It was their ability to make others believe they were harmless until the moment they decided to stop pretending. 3 months after Katie Morrison's death, the Galactic Council no longer existed. The species that had killed a human child and called humanity weak were now scattered across the galaxy, broken, and powerless. But humanity did not stop with just destroying their enemies. They had bigger plans for the entire galaxy. President Susan Clark stood in the newly built Earth Command Center, a massive facility that now controlled all human operations across known space. Through the huge windows, she could see hundreds of human ships coming and going from Earth's orbital stations. What had once been a single planet was now the capital of a galactic empire. Clark prepared to address every surviving species in the galaxy. Her message would be broadcast on every functioning communication system from one end of space to the other. Every alien being would hear her words and understand the new reality of their universe. People of the galaxy, Clark began, her voice calm but filled with power. 3 months ago, you watched the Council kill our child. You said nothing when they called us fragile and weak. You accepted their judgment that we were not worthy of respect. The president paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000 worlds. On planets throughout the galaxy, alien beings stopped what they were doing to listen to the human leader who now controlled their fate. Katie Morrison was 15 years old, Clark continued. She wanted to be a diplomat. She believed that different species could be friends. She died because she trusted beings who saw her kindness as weakness. This is the price of that mistake. General. Patricia Wong stood beside Admiral Henry Blake in the Military Command Center, watching tactical displays that showed human forces positioned around every major alien world. Some species had already surrendered completely. Others were still trying to understand how quickly their universe had changed. The Centauri Alliance had been one of the first to submit to human authority. Their blue-skinned leaders arrived on Earth within days of the Council's destruction, begging for mercy and offering to serve humanity in any way possible. They brought gifts of rare metals and promised to follow any orders Earth gave them. The Zephyrian Federation took longer to accept reality. They had been proud warriors for thousands of years and could not believe that humans had defeated them so easily. When they finally saw human ships destroying their orbital defense platforms without taking any damage, their high command surrendered before their homeworld suffered the same fate as the Council species. Dr. Elena Vasquez led teams of human scientists to worlds that the Council had kept primitive and undeveloped. These species had been denied advanced technology for millennia, forced to remain at early stages of development, while Council races grew powerful and rich. The first species humanity helped was called the Corvani. They were gentle, plant-like beings who had been stuck at medieval technology levels for over 2,000 years. The Council had claimed they were too dangerous to be given advanced knowledge, but humans quickly discovered this was a lie. Within weeks of human contact, the Corvani were building their own starships and developing clean energy systems. They were naturally brilliant engineers who had been held back by Council fears of competition. When they learned that humans had freed them from Council oppression, they became humanity's most loyal allies. Similar stories played out across the galaxy. The crystal-based Lithians had been denied space travel because the Council wanted exclusive control of their mineral-rich worlds. The aquatic Nereidans had been forbidden from developing underwater cities because the Council feared their expansion into ocean worlds. Each liberated species became part of humanity's growing alliance. They offered their unique abilities and knowledge in exchange for the freedom and technology the Council had denied them. The galaxy began to prosper in ways it never had under Council rule. Colonel Ryan Murphy established training centers where former Council military forces learned to serve under human command. Most alien soldiers accepted their new reality quickly, especially when they saw how much better humans treated their troops compared to their former leaders. The remaining Council species that survived human punishment were given simple choices. They could accept complete human authority and work to rebuild their shattered civilizations, or they could be left to struggle alone on their primitive worlds. Most chose to submit rather than face extinction. Commander Jake Morrison was promoted to governor of the New Haven sector, which now included dozens of star systems. His daughter's grave had become a shrine that beings from across the galaxy visited to pay their respects. Katie Morrison's name was known by every species, the innocent child whose death had changed the fate of the universe. Jake visited Katie's grave every week, bringing fresh flowers from Earth. The simple headstone now sat in the center of a beautiful garden maintained by volunteers from 20 different species. Alien children left toys and drawings, showing that they understood Katie's story and wanted to honor her memory. "The galaxy remembers you, sweetheart," Jake whispered during one of his visits. "They call you the bridge builder now. They say your death taught the universe that kindness should never be mistaken for weakness." Admiral Blake expanded the human fleet to over 10,000 ships, with new vessels being built in shipyards around hundreds of worlds. But these were not weapons of conquest anymore. They were guardians protecting the peace that humanity had created through strength. Trade routes that had been controlled by council monopolies were opened to all species. Scientific knowledge that had been hoarded by the powerful was shared freely. Worlds that had been strip-mined by council corporations were helped to heal and rebuild their environments. The galaxy prospered under human leadership in ways it never had before. Crime rates dropped as human justice systems replaced corrupt council courts. Wars between species ended as human peacekeepers enforced fair treaties. Poverty decreased as human economic policies ensured that resources were distributed more equally. Dr. Vasquez established universities on 100 worlds, teaching alien students about human science and philosophy. The most popular course was called the Katie Morrison Doctrine, which explained humanity's belief that strength should be used to protect the innocent rather than to dominate the weak. 5 years after Katie's death, President Clark stood once again before the galaxy to deliver her annual address. This time her audience was not conquered subjects but willing partners in humanity's vision of galactic civilization. "We did not seek to rule you," Clark said to the trillions of beings listening across space. "We sought justice for our child, but in pursuing that justice we discovered that this galaxy needed leaders who would use power to build rather than destroy." She paused, looking out at the stars that now flew human flags alongside the banners of dozens of allied species. Katie Morrison dreamed of a universe where different species could be friends. Today that dream is reality. We built it on the foundation of her memory and the lesson that true strength comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Admiral Blake visited Katie's grave one final time before retiring from active service. The garden had grown into a small city where beings of all species came to study, work, and remember the girl who had changed everything. "We kept our promise, Katie," Blake said quietly, placing a single white flower on the headstone. "They learned what human weakness really means, and now the galaxy is the place you always believed it could be." Above New Haven, human ships patrolled the space lanes in perfect formation. Across the galaxy, former enemies worked together as allies. Children of a dozen species played together in parks that had been built to honor a human girl's memory. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of humanity had begun, and at its heart was the simple truth that Katie Morrison had tried to teach the universe, that kindness and strength were not opposites, but two sides of the same coin.